Happy Friday morning to everyone. Happy Halloween. I hope no one gets too scared by this here background. I know it's a little nerve-wracking, but I think we'll power right through it. Y'all need to go to Inside Texas. You can join for just $1. Check this out, really fancy. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you straight to sign up, apply that promo, and all that jazz. Just pause the video. You know how it goes. Gentlemen, Jim Harbaugh, Justin, Paul, Eric, good to see you. Our man Ian is in Buffalo, New York. He cannot join us, but we will keep on keeping on. First things first, we are returning from the road. We've been on the road for the past, 4 weeks in some form, and we're back home. So that means recruits can show up, and we can try to close them, Justin. Give us the latest.
That's right. Hey, it's been a minute since they've been on the 40 acres, and they've got 2 official visitors this weekend. While a lot of people are clamoring about the class of 2027 and how Texas A&M and Texas Tech are building on that, Steve Sarkisian and these guys are focused on 2026. They want to finish this class strong. They still have the number 5 ranked class in the country. These are 2 guys that really like. We're going to start with Karan Maycock, linebacker, commit out of Florida State, commit out of Miami Central. Listen, this kid has got some Jonathan Cunningham to him, very twitchy, very athletic. Never doubt South Florida athletes, Dade County. These kids are just different. He's going to be in. He's one of those guys. Texas wants 3 linebackers in this cycle. They've already got 2, Kosiak Paula and Tyler Atkinson. They lost out on Braden Rouse. They lost out on Braylon Hodge. Now they're going to Braden Rouse. Now and Braylon Hodge. Now they're going to try to jump into this boat with Maycock. He's going to be on board. This is Johnny Nansen running this one, and Texas already kind of has a good vibe with this. They're going to try to flip him, and then they have Teray Davis. That's a safety out of Colorado. He's one of the guys. He's a 3-star. He's a former UCLA commit. He's actually got really good tape. I'm a little hesitant because I'm a big Donovan Webb guy out of Frisco. I think Texas really should focus on some of those in-state guys. They need one more safety, and I think there's plenty, around the campus that they could probably get. But they like Davis. They like this kid. He's a 3-star out of Boulder. It's strangely that Colorado's not in the recruitment for this one, but Texas is, and USC. USC is also knocking on the door as well. Texas is going to host both those guys this weekend for OVs. They're going to arrive sometime today. They'll leave sometime Sunday, and we'll have a little bit of a preview about that this morning, and we'll have even more about that on Sunday.
On InsideTexas.com. Jim Harbaugh, I know you were doing some advanced scouting of the Sarkisian press conference throughout this week. What were you? No, of course not. Sorry about that. No, you wouldn't do that. But maybe you caught it on TV or something like that legally.
Yeah, Sugar Daddy said, I don't know who he's talking about with that Connor. Yeah, I'd never heard of him. Yeah. Steve Sarkisian, a fellow head coach, talked a lot this week. Quarterback was obviously the main focus. Did mention that Arch Manning did not practice Monday, but in his ensuing media availabilities on Wednesday and on Thursday, said that he had practice. Very vague, didn't get into specifics, but he also talked a lot about the confidence the program has in Matthew Caldwell and in KJ Lacey. So the program line, at least coming from Sarkisian, did not reveal a whole lot of information about Arch Manning. So that's something to track, and I know Eric's got more on that. But he did talk a lot about, just being back home and how important that is. And, yeah, you get to host recruits when you're at a home game, which, is a fact that goes over some people's heads. But just being at home and being, in your home stadium, it's big for this team. Like, I know that, they spend, Sunday through Friday morning basically at home, and then they travel. But when you're doing that 4 weeks in a row and you haven't been in front of your own fans for a power conference game at all this year, not till November 1st, or playing a power conference home game, that's that can put some wear and tear on what is a young team. So they're glad to be home, glad to be and the challenge is big. It's a good time for a home game, considering a top 10 team is coming to town. I don't care what school it's from, what the helmet looks like. They have a top 10 team. They have a Heisman contending quarterback, and a home game is going to help them in that regard. So that was the big one. And then being the quarterback's going to be the focus all the time, but they're glad to be sorting out all these issues in Austin as opposed to elsewhere.
For sure. Paul, why is that Vanderbilt team ranked top 10? If you can start with Vanderbilt's offense, please, sir.
Well, if you want to understand Vanderbilt, you got to understand pace and their willingness to impose their pace upon you and the game. So what they're going to try to do, ideally, is have about 9 possessions for each team. They're going to try to control the ball. They're 133rd in plays per game in college football. They're in the 130s in seconds per play, meaning they're going to let that clock run down right to 0, and they're going to snap the ball and run their play. So the opposite of the fans always imploring Stark to go fast. Stark loves Vandy's the cut of their jib in terms of how they like to milk the clock and manipulate possessions and run sort of asymmetrical strategies. And that also includes their offense. So there's a chicken or egg quality to the Vanderbilt offense, which is, is Diego Pavia just the perfect college football dual threat option? We can run everything offense, or does the offense help create the opportunity for Pavia's unique skill set? The answer is it doesn't matter. It works pretty seamlessly, and it allows Vanderbilt to punch much above their weight. So they've got a big offensive line. They're physical. They're not very good. And that's one of the things that struck me watching their tape, which is they just craft the offense to always put them at an advantage. And I think they do something that I really like, which is rather than throwing up their hands and saying, well, the offensive line, isn't perfect, we can't really run our offense. They say, our offensive line is imperfect. How can we scheme it to put these guys at a favorable position? And Diego Pavia, of course, is the key to that, because not only is he a dual threat, not only is he really accurate to his spots, and I think that's an underestimated part of his game, he's also kind of indestructible. And that's another important part. If you're going to really commit to a dual threat quarterback, you better have 4 of them on the roster, because you're going to go through 3 of them. With Pavia, not really. He just sort of takes the blows and comes back. So he's one of the most unique players in college football. The thing, though, is to not get mesmerized with what Vanderbilt does in the backfield or Pavia. Just play your position. And that is something that I think plays well to Texas. Texas is pretty good at teaching the positional level of football. And so they can have all sorts of smoke and mirrors. At the end of the day, did your edges contain? Did your safety run up and fill his alley? Did he tackle when he got there? If the answer is yes, it's a 3-yard gain. And it doesn't matter what all the smoke and mirrors were for Vanderbilt. So that's a really integral part in this matchup. It's also the most glamorous matchup, guys. It's the Texas strength, the Texas defense against the Vanderbilt offense, their strength. I don't think it's the matchup that determines the game.
I'll lead you right in, but before we do that, wait, Jim said Texas has confidence in Caldwell and Lacey. Did Lacey jump Owens?
Yeah, Owens, I don't even think has been on the travel roster. When you go pregame, you can see, they'll put first string quarterback with first string center, second string with second string, third string with third string. Lacey's been in that third string, and that's kind of been the case for pretty much all season.
Yeah.
Cool. Before we get the defense side, let's hear a word from Laura Baker.
If you're looking for a home in the Austin area, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. Laura's a part of the elite Andy Allen team at Keller Williams Realty. She's helped Longhorns find their dream homes all over Central Texas. You can just ask our very own Ian Boyd, who moved from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Whether you're searching in Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, San Marcos, or even parts of the 254 or the 210, Laura has you covered. So call 512-784-0505, or you can email her at laura@andyallenteam.com. She's a Longhorn, a friend of Inside Texas, and the person you need to call to get your next home in Central Texas. Call Laura Baker today. Contact info is in the description.
Voiceover, it's warm, inviting, but authoritative as well. It's like this really tough balance to kind of match there. Really good job on that, whoever did that. All right, Paul. Vanderbilt defense, not the strength of the team, but they do some cool stuff. They play hard.
They do. They play really hard. I would liken them to Indiana in that regard, in that there's just total belief in what they do. And if they make a mistake, they do it 100 miles an hour. And that's kind of what every football coach from, Pop Warner up to the NFL level preaches, but very few teams actually do. And so Vanderbilt is all in. They're committed. All their hokey, corny stuff if you actually believe in it, it's not hokey and corny. It actually helps. So the thing about Vandy is they are ranked 40th in efficiency. That's a little bit deceived by their pace. Again, that offensive pace sets the tone. So people will see low-scoring games and say, man, Vandy plays good D. Not really. There just weren't that many possessions. And so one of the things that Texas has to do that we have done, unfortunately, a little bit too much this year is we throw away possessions. We feel out our offense. We start slow. We have like 3 or 4 throwaway possessions in the first half. You do that enough against Vandy, you're going to look up in the fourth quarter and you're going to realize you have 10 or 13 on the scoreboard and the whole game has just slipped out of your hands and you didn't feel like you even had the ball or a chance to feel out your offense. So Texas has got to start fast. This is the weakness of Vandy. And the interesting thing about the Vandy defense, because even though they show a lot of pressure looks, there are some easy candy things you can take from them, either in the run game or outside the hashes throwing the ball, specifically the intermediate game. The problem is they can get Vandied, meaning in their loss this year, Alabama is the one that controlled the ball. Alabama in the second half was the one that deprived the Vanderbilt offense of possessions. Alabama was the team that was slow and efficient and just moved up and down the field. Their last 5 possessions, they scored points. And that's how they ultimately separated from Vandy in a game that if you watched it, the teams were not unevenly matched. Just Alabama imposed their will and their style of play on offense, and Vanderbilt's defense couldn't hold up. So they are pretty good rushing the passer. So if you're looking at last year's Vandy as your guide, they are different on defense. They're much more aggressive. They're much more havoc-inducing. They have good pass rush. They are, I would say, pretty smart in the secondary, but I don't think they're overly talented man for man. So if you can ISO them with your proper guy or the guy you think is the best matchup, you can beat them down the field. You're not going to get necessarily big explosive plays, but you can get those 15, 20, 30-yard chunk plays. So Texas has got to play well or well enough on offense. I think this is the matchup that determines this game. I don't think it's the much more glamorous matchup that's going to get all the TV, early, highlights that they're going to show you, the matchup of Pavia against the Texas D. I think it's the Texas offense against the Vanderbilt defense and our ability to impose our scheme, whatever that might be on Saturday, and our will on that Vanderbilt defense.
I agree. Awesome stuff, man. Thank you. Eric, team news. Nothing big going on in that world, but maybe just if you can scrape something up for us, please.
Yeah, everybody's focused on whether or not Arch is going to play or Caldwell. It seems like the fan base is sort of split. Caldwell's got this cult following because he's the best pinch hitter in college football. Every time he comes in, he makes something happen, most notably last week. Sark is running more misdirection behind the scenes than he has run pretty much all season on this one. They always downplay. But, the system's a system and all that stuff. But there's tons of misdirection behind the scenes. One thing, we're hearing one thing, but then actions seem to point in a different direction. I will say that Matthew Caldwell had a very good week of practice, getting most of the quarterback 1 reps. He's got a lot of confidence. Obviously, he's got, talent in his arm. He's got talent in his legs. He's got leadership intangibles. He's a confident guy, always bouncing around, hyping people up, smiling. Just became a really popular guy in short order upon making it to campus. There's a lot of belief in Caldwell if it's him, not just throughout the team, but also the coaches. And when you keep that in mind, it's really, really seductive to give Arch that week off to heal and truly get right for Georgia. Now, of course, Caldwell plays well. Fans are going to try to turn that into a competition, but I don't think that'll be the case. But we're that's the last thing we need. But Caldwell's a good player, and I think they have a pretty good plan to attack him. And maybe some of the plan that they attacked Vanderbilt last year on the perimeter can pay dividends this season.
Freelance Society asks, thank you for the super chat. Do you think Sark will go 11 personnel and RPO for the majority of the game, or will Sark try to do the same? I got my Zen in and a white monster this morning, boys. All right, you're on a different plane of existence, dude. I can rock with it. Any thoughts there, Paul? Caldwell is good in the RPO game, right?
He is.
Really good.
He's pretty proficient in the RPO game, and that's something that I think was being reported even in fall practice back in August. So, he is proficient there. It would be an interesting little wrinkle, specifically because Vanderbilt on 3rd and 5 and more, they like to go 6 and 7 across right on the line of scrimmage, drop a couple, bring the rest, confuse your O-line. And then all their other DBs are kind of playing off. So you have this intermediate window that kind of suits that RPO game, that if you can execute it well, it's there for you potentially. That said, I've been writing since our opener, trying to anticipate our game plan and what Sark's going to do, and I'm not very good at it. Things to me that seem obvious that we should be doing, he does not do. And then other things that I'm more sympathetic for. We've got some issues on offense from a personnel standpoint and from even an uptake standpoint, and I think that limits some of the things he wants to do. So I'm honestly not sure. Kind of what I think we should do doesn't really matter. And trying to anticipate Sark's game plans has been kind of a guessing game that I've not been great at. So honestly, we'll see. I'll be interested to see what we roll out as much as you guys are on Saturday morning.
Caldwell is better than Arch at RPOs. We were, Paul's right, we were reporting that in August, and that's a big reason they brought him in. They feel like they could craft an offense around him if they needed to through RPOs. Now, we'll see. Paul's right in that we hear one thing and then it kind of goes in a different direction. I think Sark is a bit of a creature of habit. He's kind of running his stuff no matter what he's got at his disposal, but he does like the RPO game. They repped it a lot this offseason, probably a lot more than what it's indicated by how they've used it, a little bit more sparingly. But then there's also easy throws you can get to guys like Wingo on the perimeter that worked last week and are easy high percentage replacements for the run game.
What I would do is bring in a bludgeon at fullback and then 2 tight ends and just run power every single play. And I think that's a pretty effective way of getting the ball down the field.
Only 2 tight ends? You invented 14 personnel.
Yeah. We got the
fullback. Also, Jim knows what Vanderbilt's going to run anyway, so that'll be a huge advantage.
Huge advantage.
I hope you're still here, Freelance Society. I bet you were at this point running wind sprints in an open field, but thank you for that super chat. Let's do predictions, fellas. This one's going to even be even more weird to predict with the quarterback situation, right? So we'll lead with Justin. Let's see, man. Let's see.
Yeah. So I beginning of the week, I was feeling Vandy. Like I thought Diego Pavia is going to have a statue in Nashville. And he's got scalps from Alabama, LSU. He was going to try to put one for Bevo up there just to build his legend. Listen, this guy's going to have a seat in New York City for the Heisman. I don't think he's going to win it, but he's going to be there. And then we get some practice reports and some team stuff, and I'm starting to feel better about the Horns. I think the Horns put some points on the board this weekend. I haven't predicted that since week 1.
You haven't.
I think the Horns actually run the RPO game really well, and they make this one interesting. I like Texas, 27-21. I think Vanderbilt is going to get a couple scores. I think it's going to be close. It's going to just go over the over-under, which seems to be hovering around the entire season. But, yeah, I was feeling Pavia earlier, but, man, I really like what we're hearing from Texas from practice. I think the defense – got an energy shot in the fourth quarter and overtime last week in Starkville. I think the offense kind of finding their niche actually gave them a second wind. And I like Texas. I think if this was in Nashville, my tone would be different. But since they get them at home this year, they haven't been at home in a while. 27-21 Horns. Move on to Georgia and Athens.
Jim.
I've been the score all week has been 20-14, and I've been kind of going back and forth on who I see as having 20 and who I see as having 14. But I think Texas is the team with 20. That's scoring on 4 possessions, and that's a pretty good hit rate on against this team. I really think this may be a game where, again, Mason Shipley is going to have some important opportunities. And also, as long as Texas doesn't give up an 80-yard run like Missouri did that basically cost them the game, I think it bodes well for the Longhorns. So I say 2014 Texas.
Paul, are you going to keep the good vibes rolling, dude?
I don't know. I honestly have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I don't know who's playing. I don't know if our 2 16s are going to be out there. I don't know if we're going to have 1 16. I don't know. I have no idea. I I don't know, have any feel for this game. I pretty confidently felt like if everyone plays, Texas would win. But I don't know. Flip a coin. I'll go Vanderbilt 21, Texas 20. How about that?
When did you ask Paul?
You still went Vanderbilt, which is hilarious. I don't know, but it's still
I mean, you could flip that and make it Texas. I don't know. I don't care. I hope none of y'all make any sports gambling decisions based on our picks.
That's where I make all my sports gambling decisions, Paul.
Oh, no.
I agree with you, Paul. This has been a nightmare to analyze. Eric, what do you think, man?
I went with 2017 Texas. It's easy to write a script for either team that with them coming out victorious. I'm buying into the home rejuvenation. The fact that they absolutely have to win. They can't lose this game. Season's effectively over. They'll say it's not, but it's going to be tough to rebound from that, obviously. And I like the defensive matchup. I think they had some things figured out last year. Now there could be two different safeties than we saw last year, which is a little bit concerning, but not as concerning as it would be against Mississippi State. I like Jelani McDonald reprising a role that he was very successful at last year. I think Texas can get big up front and make life difficult for Pavia. He's going to play decently well, but I don't think he'll play to his 2025 standard. And Texas will do just enough. And, even though Vanderbilt doesn't punt the ball at all, it's in line with how Paul says they take the air out of it. I think there's still big plays and special teams to be had that could change the game as well.
Yeah, I didn't even bring in the Niblet factor, the game winner. All right, guys.
We're trying not to tip off Vandy either.
Yeah, that's a good
one.
We are running punt return. Yeah, we can't let them know that.
That's my favorite commentary on these YouTube videos when we do the deep dive with all 22. They're like, now they know. And it's like,
yeah,
well, they're professional coaches.
Like,
they watch
oh, God,
tape too.
All right, guys, go to Inside Texas. You can join for just $1. Best community, funny, smart, all of that. And then you'll get even more of this team news analysis and recruiting. Have a wonderful Friday. We got Inside the Program coming up. And then, of course, join us for the pregame an hour before the game starts tomorrow. And then right after the game ends for postgame. Happy Halloween, everyone. Boo.